Greetings, my brothers and sisters.
Oh, hello.
Welcome once again to episode 112. We're still in season 4. Thank God. We just give him the praise, the honor, and the glory as we continue to focus on life. We've been on life. The past month was on life in the month of March. So we're going to continue. Last month we wrapped up Women's History Month. With an influential and historical African-American woman who's a civil rights icon by the name of Miss Virginia Walden Ford, who was America's leading advocate for parent empowerment. And when it comes to creating alternative educational opportunities for underprivileged children and for their families, she was the main advocate. So we enjoy talking about her on last week, and we talked about women, all type of influential women in the month of March. But now we're in the month of April. April the 1st to be exact. I guess you could consider it April Fool's Day. But the most important thing about April is that it's my birthday month. My birthday month.
Right.
And Mom's sort of heavenly birthday month. So we're going to continue.
And grandson.
Yes. So we're going to continue to focus on life in this particular month of April, but we got a different topic for you. Now, I know this is April Fool's Day, but we're not going to try to fool you with this topic. But the topic is, are you old enough to remember? We may fool somebody, but are you old enough to remember?
Get educated.
There you go. And as a subtopic, we'll be traveling back down memory lane, talking about communication and entertainment devices that are now considered antique. But we're going to emphasize that we've come a long way, baby, only through God's grace.
That's it. So we thank God, from no season to season 4, we have come a long way in this podcasting arena. And we're thankful for all of our fellow podcasters here on BS3 Network. I always want to give them kudos and shout outs. This thing isn't easy. But once you get started and get your feet wet, it is so much fun. It's invigorating. It's always informative. And so without a shadow of a doubt, we cannot move forward in this show without acknowledging our leader. The visionary, Mr. Podfather, Mr. Podcaster himself. BS3, Ben Sudds III. And he really runs this network with excellence, with a standard above none other. And so we are proud to be a part of this network and to follow our son in this effort. And speaking of which, he offers coaching. So if you are interested, just like we were in getting started, he coached us through this process. And so his information is on the screen. Please reach out to him, check him out.
Please do.
He is willing and more than able to help you get started. And also, Roku TV is where you can find us, as well as other social media platforms. But if you would like to download us, please do. That information is also on your screen. And reach out to us at Sudds-R-Us Podcast. That's our email address. We'd love to hear from you. Without a doubt, nothing you could share or email us would be offensive to us. We would love to hear what you have to say. To give you a sneak peek of BS3 Network, we'd like to pause for a little station identification.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
All right, all right. So communication and entertainment devices that are now considered antique. So we're going to start out today. We're going to start off with the rotary dial telephone. Now, remember the time that it took you to dial one number and then the dial will go click, 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 click back to the next number? You remember that? Instead of just placing your finger on the actual number on your cell phone, or you can do it by voice, actually. But the patience that we had to exude to call a friend or a loved one.
Right.
It's like heating up your leftover dinner in the oven. Takes you about 15 minutes. Well, now, you can warm it up in the microwave for 1 minute.
Exactly.
The patience that it took for us. And there was no contact stored in your phone. So you had to use a phone book or Yellow Pages.
Right.
And, remember, actually, you have to remember the number.
The number. That's right.
What a concept, remembering the number. You couldn't leave a message because the answer machines and the pages didn't come along for years later. And if there was no answer, you had to call back at a later time. If you had to notate it yourself to say what time I called, you got to write it down and remember you got to call back. If the number wasn't in the phone book, then you had to call an operator for the number. So we thought we were doing something really great. And we got a wall hanging phone.
That was
with the long cord. Yeah, with the long cord.
Right.
And you can reach into another room. But do y'all remember those days?
Shoot. I know I do. And it was almost like, when you went to click that number, and if you didn't take your finger out fast enough, we had one of those old school metal ones.
Wow.
But yeah, you had to really get your finger out fast. I have an audio of that too that I'd like to share.
Okay.
I don't know when you want to share it, but
okay. Well, we're gonna start with some history first. We're gonna go all the way back. All the way back with Alexander Graham Bell.
Right.
Who's a Scottish-born inventor, scientist,
look at that,
an engineer who created the patent for the first practical telephone in 1876. Now, he also founded American Telephone and Telegraph Company, which is AT&T, in 1885. Now, the first true rotary phone appeared in 1892 and was installed in La Prairie, Indiana. Now, to give you some network connections along with cable wiring transmission information, that's very interesting. When I first heard the name of Alexander Graham Bell, I didn't think about AT&T. The first thing I thought about was Pac Bell or Bell South. Well, Bell South, and formerly known as Bell South Corporation, that was an American telecommunication holding company based here in Atlanta, Georgia. Bell South was one of the 7 original Bell regional operation companies after the U.S. Department of Justice forced the American Telephone and Telegraph Company to divest itself of its regional telephone companies on January the 1st, 1984. Now, the parent company is still AT&T Incorporated, but in the merger announced back in March the 5th, 2006, it executed on December 29th, 2006, AT&T Incorporated, originally SBC Communications, acquired Bell South for approximately $86 billion.
Not surprised.
Which is 1.325 shares of AT&T of each share of Bell South. Now, what the merger did, it also consolidated ownership of Singular Wireless, and the YellowPages.com, both of which were joint ventures between Bell South and AT&T. Now, with the merger completed, wireless companies previously offered by Singular Wireless were then offered under the AT&T name and Bell South Telecommunications. Now, subsidiary of Bell Operation Company began doing business as AT&T Southeast. What do? They monopolize monopolizing the system and accumulating all the wealth within one corporation originated by this one family. You want to say something about Pacific Bell or Pac Bell?
No, not really.
Okay.
The bells.
Okay.
But it's just interesting how much it has evolved in doing some of this history.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting.
Yes.
And you'll see as we go along how these phones have evolved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first rotary dial phone was built by Alma Brown Stroger. Now, but it was actually accidental because Stroger's funeral home business was losing clients to a competitor whose wife was a telephone operator. So she was redirecting everyone's call for Stroger to her husband's mortuary.
Wow.
So motivation to remove the intermediary operator led him to invent the first automatic telephone exchange in 1889. Now, he received his patent in 1891, but it's reported that he initially constructed a model of his invention from a round collar box and some straight pins.
Wow.
The old saying is, necessity is the mother of invention. Well, yes, he had to invent something to supersede his business being stolen by his competitor's wife.
Yeah, process of elimination.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. That's what the brother said.
I'm telling you. So the rotary dial phone was once the be-all and the end-all of all telephones, like the cell phone of today. Mostly everybody had one that ruled domestic communication for decades. But that all changed. That all changed in the 1980s when they were supplanted by the new upstart push-button telephones. Now, their days were numbered.
Wait, before we go to
Pin
that,
intended.
Before we go to that one, though,
okay,
this is the sound of that one. Y'all listen. I hope y'all can hear that. Number 9, number 10.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I'm telling you, but this is like our very own, and it's also a step above the original one that I was talking about. You can see this is pretty much plastic. The other one was solid black, and it was all metal.
Right.
And you mess around and get your finger stuck on number 4 and you forget to take it out. Baby. But I want to just interject here. This particular phone, this black one that I was just referring to, our family lived on a dirt road. And we were the only family that had a telephone.
Wow.
And so everybody, in the neighborhood had to come and use our phone. Now you can imagine, you see how the handle is on it and it looks like the cord is to the left. Well, we always had this neighbor that would hang it up backwards and put the cord to the right, and then it get all raveled and everything. But anyway, we called that the original. We called it Blackie. And like I said, and that phone was heavy. Like for you to try to pick it up and put it back down just in the same position, it was so heavy.
Right.
But get this, when we first got our phone, there was called a party line.
Okay.
And so all of our neighbors, when they eventually got a phone of their own, thank God they did, we would pick up the phone and start dialing. They were like, "I'm on the phone. You can't talk now. Let me finish up."
Right.
But they're in the next house or down the street. So we were all on this same party line. So we had to be considerate and waited until they finished.
Right.
That's amazing. So that you're not over, we would always cover up the mouthpiece to be nosy and see what they was talking about too. Don't tell nobody. But, we were nosy. But down to the push button. Go ahead.
So that was a conference call before action.
Really? They were like, "I can hear y'all breathing." We had to hang up. It would be so
that was
funny.
A conference call. And you didn't have mute, so you couldn't mute yourself.
That's why you had to put your hand over it.
Put your hand over it. There you
go. We couldn't not breathe. We breathed hard.
Wow. So from there, we went to the new upstart. This is a new upstart, the push button telephone.
And you see it had pulse and tone. Look,
right.
that's
right.
Look, that's an upgrade for real, for real.
Now, after that, there came the wireless cellular smartphone that we use today. Now, everything changed with that smartphone. I mean, it's like a mini computer. Exactly. And we have a progression of the actual smartphone.
Right. Look at that.
Look at that. Look at that.
Now, that first one, if you guys have never, ever seen that bad boy came in a case. It was almost like a little man purse. And I never forget, people just be, trying to grab it out of their little bag. I guess that was like their charger. Right, I don't know. That like thing was huge. Yeah. It was really big. So yeah, you can see how the antennas and then no antenna, and then it started getting smaller.
Right. Yeah, the flip phone, and then
we call that the clapper, right?
Clapper. The clapper.
When you close it, like
yeah. Then you had the slide phone when you first started texting, where you turn it long ways, right, and you flip it up, and that's when texting came in popularity. But I tell you, the first cellular phone that I saw, the black one, the first one, I was working at the bedroom in Oakland, California on Broadway. And a customer came in, like you said, he had the pack on his shoulder, big old pack, like a purse.
Right.
and the brother happened to be a drug dealer. That's who had the phones, the first cellular phones.
We couldn't afford
We couldn't afford them. He was a drug dealer. So he would walk around. He was walking around the store picking out his new waterbed, and that's another throwback to waterbeds.
Right.
And he had that, and we were just impressed. I'm like, look at this guy walking around with a phone. So that was very impressive. But then, came after the wireless cellular phone, we have the smartphones, which that what we carry now.
Right.
So before the smartphones, we also had something, right. But we also had something called the pager.
Oh, yeah.
We had the pager before. Now,
y'all remember that?
Y'all remember that? Yeah, they would page you, and then you have to go find an actual pay phone.
Right. Yeah, you better have a coin though. You ain't gonna make no phone calls.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it started off a dime, to use the pay phone. It was one on every corner.
Right. And look, when you think about that, pre-COVID is when this was, but can you imagine the germs, how nasty that thing was? The phone booths always smelled like urine, just nasty.
Yeah.
But I want to interject here. The first pager was patented by a man named Al Gross, and it was used at a hospital in the 1950s. Now, whether or not it was a Motorola, I don't know. But pagers became so widely used in the 1980s. I know I had one just like that. And of course, if you had a job, you didn't have to go and look for a payphone unless you were, out and about at night or something. Right, but in essence, if there was no phone, then they didn't get a call back. You had to wait. I mean, things were not as essential back then. Like now, if you leave without your phone, it's like, Lord, that's the end of the world. But we didn't have phones, so people just had to wait, until we could get back to you. But yeah, that pager was something else.
Something else. Yeah.
And that you get a little vibration on your on your waistline, let you know somebody was trying to get in touch with you.
Exactly. So yeah, like you were saying, I mean, now we can't leave the house with our cell phone.
You'll turn around and go back.
I was talking to a minister last Sunday. His daughter actually locked the keys in the house, and she was in the garage, so she called him to come home and open the door because she couldn't get in the house. I told her, well, you got to put the extra key. I'm not going to tell you where because I don't know who's watching us, but you always got to have an extra key. But I told him, I said, at this age, before I close the door, I pat my front, make sure I got my phone, pat my back, make sure I got my key. I'm double pat before I close the door.
You have to. I mean, you can't leave without it.
Make sure I got my keys.
That's a shame. That's just like you remember back in the day, they would say American Express, don't leave home without it.
Now let me tell you why. Because these new wireless smartphones, the way they're used today, I mean, they've changed everything because there are many computers.
That's right.
You know, with texting, if you want to text someone, with emailing, you can actually email someone with your phone. You got internet search. You can actually search Google on your phone.
That's it.
You have social media posting. I mean, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of it on your phone. You got all these apps on your phone. You got book reading on your phone. You can actually order a book, have a book app, and read the book on your phone.
Yeah.
iCloud notification on your phone. We're actually using that now. Get notes off of on your phone. You have pictures and video recording on your phone. And that's another episode. We're going to look at the video recording aspects as well. But now you can do it on your phone.
That's right.
Watch TV. Good quality pictures.
That's right.
Watch TV on your phone.
Yes.
You know, now these new phones that you can actually exclude if someone is posting or someone is in the back of your picture bombing, I think they call it.
Oh yeah.
You can actually take the picture, take them out of the picture. You can also edit the picture on your phone. All this is done on your phone now. And you got calendar. You can schedule events on your phone.
That's it.
You got navigation system. That's why you got to pat it. Make sure before you get in the car, you got your phone.
You know where you go.
Now you hook your navigation system from your phone to your car. Weather forecasting. I mean, you know, you don't need to watch the news anymore as far as getting the weather report or getting information. You got actually information that's notified and warnings on your phone. You got tornado warnings, hurricane warnings, weather warnings on your phone. You also have weather forecasting on your phone. You got Apple Music Play on your phone. Have other capabilities that you can do right from your pocket, which is used by your phone. And if you go and unfortunately, if you miss it, if you lose it, or you don't have it, especially now, you know, you're talking about navigation system, or sometimes you listen to the radio, and that's another episode. You get tired of, because the radio, they have more commercials now than they have music.
They play the same
rotation. So you know,
boring.
So you got Apple Music on your phone. But I'm gonna give you this scripture, playlist, and then I'm gonna turn it back over. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things have passed away.
That's right.
And behold, all things have become new. Now we know Paul in 2 Corinthians, when he was speaking to the church at Corinth, he was talking about a new nature. Far as being a new individual in Christ, because we must be born again. But now we're talking about new habits as well. So as a new creature, things are now new when it comes to these inventions from the old antique, especially with cell phones. It gives you new opportunities, give you new ideas, give you new techniques on how to conduct your life. I didn't mention the Bible app as well.
It is literally a mini computer. We're now on a huge laptop. But these little phones capture a lot of private information. It really reminds me when we go to drive-through, and if they don't have a scanner, they were like, "Let me have your phone." I'm like, no, baby, I got so much private information in my phone. So thank God for face recognition. So if you got it locked, but then how will they scan your app if it's locked? So they have access to too much of my information asking me for my phone. So their scanner needs to be working, or they won't get the business. And if I don't have cash, they definitely won't get the business. So, you know, people use it also for banking. You forgot about that. And and you know, like you said, the Bible app and books and things like that. But the Apple phone, Apple across the board is dominating this thing. I don't care what nobody says. Nothing is compatible with them. You cannot interchange that with an Android. So, you know, kudos to Apple. I like my Apple products. And it's almost time to get a new one. The thing about them, I feel like they just start to aggravate you with some issues with your phone because they know it's time for you to get another one. You know, drop all that money to invest in another phone, but then they want you to trade it in. But look, I just bought this phone. I'm gonna give it back to you and I don't pay for it.
Right.
Oh, I don't think
Right.
so.
Right.
I find I'll just play music on it or what have you. It does take off a lot of your bill, but it's also a new learning curve though.
Right.
When you get another one, you've gotten so used to we have an iPhone 11, which is like it's 14 now.
Right.
But my husband always, this is working fine. Well, I don't feel like changing.
Right.
But the thing is about phones are, you hear people like, I got my phone, but it died. So, you got to have chargers too. Right. You remember to get your phone, but you also got to remember to we have chargers everywhere, in the phone, in the car, on every level of the house, in every room. You never know. Power goes out. Make sure you have your charger, so your loved one, especially your spouse or your children, can reach you. Point blank. There's no excuse. I'm sorry.
Right. And when you mention banking, you can also transfer money.
Yeah.
You can actually with these apps, you have PayPal and you have Cash App and you have Zelle. You can use your phone to transfer money to other people.
That's it.
With your phone. So basically, all you need to do is put in your pocket is your license. Everything else.
And some people, we have pictures of that. So you don't need it unless they physically need it.
Right.
But
Right.
Your phone. But that's why you got to have a charger, because you're in trouble if your phone go dead. You really are.
That's it. So before you could use your cellular smartphone as a Bluetooth connection to play music,
wow,
there was something called a record player. Y'all remember that? A record player.
Here it is, y'all.
Yeah, something called a record player.
It's sitting on top of that floor model TV. Do y'all see that? We still got it, baby. It still works.
It still got both.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
That's it. We remember that, playing 45s and 78s and 33 LPs on the turntable. Now you can only listen periods about 25 to 30 minutes before you got to flip it over to play the other side of the album.
Right.
Or maybe you had a turntable that you could stack the albums, 3 or 4 on your favorite side, and listen to them. They dropped down and played.
It had a little arm on it.
Yeah.
I remember
that. But the album was personal and also emotional about holding an actual album cover.
Look, y'all.
Admiring the photos of the album cover. The name.
The front.
That's the front.
Look at the
Brothers
inside.
Johnson's. The names and slogans on the album cover. The artist drawing in the pictures and reading about the artists and the lyrics of every song. And if you have a double album, you have the inside and the sleeve that the album goes in. If it's just a single cover, had the lyrics on it. Then you can enjoy the animations on 2 album covers. And when you open the cover, especially, we don't have an example, but the Funkadelic albums and the Parliament Funkadelic and Bootsy, they had animation on their albums. And then another one of our favorite albums is and the actual artist is Frankie Beverly and Mays. And you actually have pictures of the artists. Look at that. The already clear and developing. It was just something different about holding an album cover. You can't do that with Apple Music. You couldn't do that with a cassette or 8-track that we had later on. But it's about albums. It's about remembering to rub that vinyl record on your pants to clean off the dust.
Well, we also had to use some alcohol.
Because
after a while, we went through some needles too, y'all.
Right.
Well, anyway, I'll chime in a minute.
So if you didn't clean it off, it would skip. It wouldn't play the song clearly. We also have to be careful not to rub the needle against the record, because especially when you sit the needle on the record, it will scratch it. So you don't want to scratch on you. You have to be careful about that. And to make sure the song didn't drag or repeat. And if you played a lot of music, like you say, played a lot of music, then you need to actually replace the needle.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was every couple years or once a year, but depends on how much music you played. And sometimes the needle would wear down and the music was distorted if you didn't change the music or change the needle. You want to say something about that before
Yeah,
to the
well,
history.
not only that, but we could even, I know I could get the arm and drop that needle down right in the spot. We began to learn how to read that album. You could see the grooves in it, where one song ended and where the next one began. It's like, I don't want to hear song 1 or 2. I want to hear number 3, and we drop it right in that spot.
Right in that spot.
My mother would have a fit though if we drug it across there. So you talking about some steady hands?
I'm telling you,
you better not. But yeah, they would get scratched up really bad, and we would, now when we play them, it's amazing because we do have a turntable, and you can hear that snap, crackle, and pop. That's like, was it like that before?
I know.
I don't remember that,
but that wasn't really clear. Yeah,
that was some good music.
Yeah.
And not only did we have the first phone on our road, we had all the latest of the music.
Right.
So every day, no matter where we went to whoever's house, my mother would write her name, her full name across the record, the 45.
Right.
And folk would always want to borrow our music, and nevertheless, it wouldn't come back. It had no boomerang on it. It wasn't a boomerang and I could go to my friends or other people's house, and I could see my mother's records in their house, the ones that never came back.
Wow.
So yeah, we lend them out, and of course you learn. We're still waiting on some music to come back.
Oh, wow. So according to the history books, now Thomas Edison invented the phonograph in 1877.
Wow.
Now, this innovative device played both and recorded sound with the use of a tinfoil covered cardboard cylinder for playback. Actually, it was a phonograph and not a turntable, but it is considered the first record player. It was in 1887 that Emily Berliner called this invention the graphophone, which patented and became the basics for the modern record player. Which gives me to my next scripture, Isaiah 48:67. Isaiah 48:67. It said, "Thou hast heard, seen all this, and will not yet declare it. I have showed thee new things from this time, even hidden things, and thou didst not know them. They are created now, and not from the beginning, even before the day when thou heardest them not. Lest thou shouldest say, behold, I knew them." So this invention, we talked about God knows all and sees all. It's new to us, but God already knew from the beginning that his creation, man, will have the ability and the creative ability to create these items. This invention consisted of a shellac and hard rubber. Later on, it would be made with vinyl. This invention was later considered the basics for the record player we know and we love. It was able to interpret grooves on flat discs instead of the cylinder that Edison used at this point. So the vinyl record became necessary. But Emily Berliner's major breakthrough, the turntable, was mechanized and designed to spin the record with the help of a direct drive system or a belt. As the record spins, as Irene says, the needle reads the groove. So this needle is a cone shape and hangs from a stretchy band of metal and set on the end of the turn arm or the tone arm. The turnable needle is unable to make out of hard material, such as a diamond or a sapphire. Wow. That's what it was originally made out of. Now the needle picks up the vibrations and it moves around the grooves and the sounds, and the vibrations travel through the metal band located at the end of the arm, and then the wires and the cartridge at the end of the tone arm. Then the coil, which is a magnetic field, turn the vibrations into an electric signal, which is then carried from the wires to the amps. And these signals eventually turn into sound via speakers, producing the music. In 1895, the first record player was in mass production. It was incredibly popular until the introduction of the radio. Now, while the introduction of the radio didn't exactly make the record player obsolete, it did take away the spotlight for a period of several years. But then in the 1930s and 1940s, turntables sold well. They didn't directly become a mainstream until approximately 20 years later. In the 1960s and in the 70s, the turntable was back on the map with the release of first models turntables and stereo playbacks. This type of hi-fi sound hit the scene and caused thousands of people to purchase a turntable of their own. The automatic turntable was able to be a big hit in the 60s. Want to say something about the turntable in the 60s, 70s?
No, that's it. Everything I want to say about the turntable.
Okay.
But I remember that phonograph that would come around. It had a big round. It had like a little, looked like a backwards elephant trunk. Oh, I remember that. We didn't have one of those.
No,
but speaking of which, the stereos, we had one of those 4-leg stereos, wood grain.
Right.
And to be, to what you were saying about the radio. So back before the radio connected with the stereo, and it gave us that dual opportunity to listen to music. So we had that 4-legged stereo that you would raise up the top of it. That was the lid, and then when you closed it, it had that nice wood grain on the top. It had the turntable on one side, and it had the the radio on the other side. And then eventually you got other devices that were included. They just began to keep expanding them. So yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So now in the 80s and the 90s, hip hop DJs they found a new way to use turntables by connecting audio mixers and using their hands to scratch the vinyl against the stylus in order to produce a totally new sound. While some people use record players to play music at home, but many DJs still use them as mixers to add to a new layer of sound to their sets. And when we go to these parties and hip hop parties and the DJs would be mixing the music, oh man, it was something to enjoy. But it all started back with the turntable. Now, from there, we have the 8-track player. 8 tracks. 8 tracks. You had 4 songs per track.
Oh, y'all know nothing about that. Good gracious.
8 tracks. Yeah. Now, it made it easy to accumulate a bunch of artists' albums in a condensed spot.
Right.
Not being concerned about the vinyl warping with the 8 tracks. You could also put track players in your car.
Right.
Yeah, remember those? We remember buying bootleg 8 tracks.
Okay, see, that's one of them right there. Didn't write the name on it, but yeah.
Right. From you have a favorite artist, you get your volume, and I remember you had to blow it before you put it in. You got to make just like you had to wipe the dust off the vinyl, you have to blow the 8 track before you put it in to make sure the dust is off of there. But after you played them for a while, you had to blow the dust, but they wouldn't skip, but I really enjoyed the 8 tracks.
Yeah, we got to remember too the little tape, I guess, whatever that is in there, would get caught in the 8-track player.
In the 8-track player, right?
And then we would have to, on the backside, you had a little wheel where you could turn it because it would unravel.
Right.
It wouldn't break all the way per se, but it would unravel. So we had to turn it in the back and try to stick it back in there and blow it a few times, and it would literally play.
Right.
But yeah, we have some of those out there too in storage.
So the 8-track. Now, when we first bought our car, we bought older cars.
Yeah.
And they all had AM radios.
That's it.
So you had to add FM receiver if you wanted FM stations.
Right.
You had to add an 8-track.
Right.
And a lot of times we put it under the dash, or you put it in the glove compartment.
So would nobody see it and steal it?
Right.
Because I had me a Pioneer, baby. I was speakers too. You talk about some good sound. But we had so much stuff in our car.
Right.
So much stuff.
Now, sometimes you buy them new and sometimes you buy them used.
God rest my brother's soul. Lord, he kept me in business.
That's it. So now came the cassette player. Cassette player is really a smaller version of the 8-track. You still use tape.
Right.
But the tape's a little smaller, more convenient. You can have more. We had to add a cassette player to our car.
Yes.
Yeah, because during the day we didn't have cassette players. And then, you have the CD players, which is basically a smaller version of an album, vinyl album, which required different playing devices. So we had to always buy something new.
Yeah, that's it.
Or sometimes, we get it. I won't go there. But now we know we think about that.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. When we think about that. But what reminds me when I think about a cassette player, we talk about boom boxes. It reminds me of the brother in the Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing. You want to say something about?
Yeah, it just reminded me as well, because the whole array of that scene when you saw the boombox, the brother gonna have an afro, he gonna have some platforms on, and he gonna have his bell bottom, and he gonna be strolling down the street. Some of them, I gotta say, versus the platform they had on roller skates. But you would always see that scene, and they have it so loud it amazed me.
Right.
That's on your shoulder, which is right at your ear. I wonder what their hearing is like today.
I know.
That music was loud. It was for everybody's entertainment.
Right.
So it had to be loud. That thing was huge. Not only that, it's like their shoulder probably like this.
This thing was
they're
huge.
leaning.
It
was heavy. I know that was heavy, and they would hold it the whole time. I'm like,
you can hear them 2 blocks away. Here they come.
Yes, that amazed me.
Wow. So we had fun. With the music, and do you remember when we talked about communication, phone communication, and the music opportunities that we have, we had back then. So we're gonna stop there. We got another one coming next week.
We forgot about one more thing. Now we got these apple pods that stick right in your little ear, right in the ear gate. But before we had huge headphones that covered your entire ear. You had to plug it in though. You forget, you plugged in. You go drag your whole stereo off of the. But yeah, it covered your entire ear. But you're talking about some surround sound. You're talking about good quality sound.
Right.
And then I want to reflect on the Walkman too.
Okay.
When we were walking a lot, we always had our little. That's when they made them a little bit smaller. They covered this part of your ear, the headphones, right. Very flimsy, and you trying to walk and move your arms and get your exercise in, and the Walkman was flimsy too. You drop that's the end of it. The CD broke, the Walkman is broke, but nevertheless, a nice addition, to our repertoire that we have. Thank God we're holding on to some of that stuff. I know it's just like useless at this point, but nevertheless, because that had no speaker to it. You gotta remember the Walkman didn't. So you gotta have the headphones. But nevertheless, you guys can see how much things have evolved.
Yes.
And for those that are watching and those that are viewing at a later time, let us know what, if any of these you remember. If not, we appreciate you watching. We appreciate your support as always.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do you remember when we're talking about the antique? So our closing scripture, as we always close with a scripture, comes from Isaiah 42, 9-10. It says, "Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I'll tell you of them. Sing unto the Lord a new song, and his praise from the end of the earth. Yea, do go down to the sea, and all that is therein, the isles and the inhabitants thereof." So we thank God for these new inventions and the old antiques, where we can give him the praise, the honor, and the glory. Thank you again for watching. May God continue to bless you and keep you is our prayer. Have a blessed Saturday.
Yes. And thank you again for your support.
Happy first.